In a world that constantly demands a performance, most people learn to play their parts with remarkable skill. They learn the right words to say at the right time, they wear the clothes that signal their success, and they master the subtle behaviors that help them blend into the crowd. We live in an era where personalities can be bought, copied, and pasted into our daily lives. But beneath this grand masquerade, there exists a rare breed of individuals who simply cannot read from the script. These are the INFJs. They possess a constellation of traits that are so deeply rooted in their soul, so profoundly natural, that they are absolutely impossible to fake. You cannot perform the life of an INFJ. You either carry this quiet, roaring fire within you or you do not. To understand the INFJ, you must first understand that they are not driven by the external world. They are often described as deeply emotional, incredibly thoughtful, and wrapped in an aura of profound calm. But what truly sets them apart from the rest of humanity is not simply how they act in public. It is the invisible, pulsing energy behind their actions. An INFJ does not wake up in the morning and decide how they are going to present themselves to the world to win favor. Their every breath, their every decision, stems from an unshakable foundation of internal values. When someone else tries to act like them, trying to feign that oceanic depth or that angelic empathy, it feels hollow. It feels like a plastic imitation of a diamond. A true INFJ never forces their empathy. They never try to manufacture an image of being mysterious or wise. They do not fake their depth to appear interesting at a dinner party. The traits that define them are the heavy, beautiful result of years spent in quiet reflection, wrestling with their own minds, and committing to absolute emotional honesty. There are simply no shortcuts to becoming this way. Today, we are going to journey deeply into the 6 specific traits of the INFJ that cannot be replicated. These are not mere habits. They are not psychological trends. They are the very marrow of the INFJ identity, forged by an extraordinary intuition and an unyielding thirst for the truth. Let us explore the quiet power of these beautiful minds. The first undeniable trait is a deeply ingrained authenticity. An INFJ refuses to play a role. Picture a bustling office space or a crowded social gathering where everyone is laughing politely at a joke that isn't truly funny, simply to keep the peace. The INFJ will not fake that smile. They do not say things merely to stroke another person's ego, and they will rarely, if ever, pretend to be something they are not. This is not because they are trying to be rebellious or arrogant. It is because authenticity is not a choice for them. It is a biological necessity. To be fake feels physically uncomfortable, like wearing clothes woven from fiberglass. They would rather face the awkward silence of reality than the comfortable noise of a lie. From a very young age, an INFJ often feels like a traveler from a distant star, dropped into a world that operates on a completely different frequency. They realize early on that the things other children obsess over simply do not hold their interest. They think about the universe, they feel the quiet sadness of a passing stranger, and they ask the heavy, complex questions that most adults spend their entire lives running away from. Instead of twisting their souls into knots, trying to fit into the popular crowd, they retreat. They learned to fiercely protect the garden of their inner world. They stay true to what feels real, even if that means walking the path entirely alone. This absolute refusal to live a lie can be widely misunderstood. Society often labels them as aloof, distant, or terribly hard to read. But the truth is much simpler. They are just declining the invitation to join the performance. If a relationship is built on small talk and pretending, the INFJ will gracefully walk away. They crave soul-deep connection. When an INFJ finally opens the gates to their heart and shares their true feelings with you, it is a profound honor. It means they have evaluated your spirit and decided you are a safe harbor. This level of raw honesty costs them. It costs them superficial friendships, easy job promotions, and social comfort, but they gladly pay that price because losing their integrity is the only loss they cannot survive. This brings us to the second irreplaceable trait. The INFJ possesses an emotional radar that is almost frightening in its accuracy. They have a flawless ability to spot inauthenticity. They do not merely live truthfully, they demand it from the atmosphere around them. You can smile at an INFJ, you can dress impeccably, you can say all the right, charming words, but if your core is deceitful, they will know instantly. This is their intuition at work. An INFJ does not just listen to the words falling from your mouth. They are reading the microscopic shifts in your body language. They are measuring the temperature of your energy. And they are listening closely to the things you are desperately trying not to say. Imagine a charismatic speaker walking into a room, dazzling everyone with their loud confidence and bright smile. The crowd is easily mesmerized, but the INFJ sits quietly in the corner, feeling a sudden, strange coldness. They can sense the hollow fear and the calculated manipulation hiding just beneath that polished surface. When someone says they are perfectly fine, the INFJ can hear the silent weeping in their chest. This ability is not a parlor trick. It is not something you can learn by reading a book on psychology. It is an overwhelming sensory experience. Because they feel the truth so intensely, they are rarely fooled by status, immense wealth, or superficial popularity. They are only impressed by the courage of a naked soul. Naturally, this hypersensitive radar is a heavy burden to carry. The INFJ cannot simply flip a switch and turn it off, even when they desperately want to give someone the benefit of the doubt. Their internal alarm bells will not stop ringing if the person is wearing a mask. It is exhausting to constantly see the vast canyon between what people say and what they actually feel. This is why you will often see an INFJ quietly pulling away from certain friend groups or social circles without any dramatic confrontation. They do not wait around to be betrayed or manipulated. Their intuition warns them, and they simply fade into the background, preserving their peace. They seek out the messy, beautifully flawed, but deeply honest people of the world. The third trait is perhaps the most fascinating. The INFJ is a living, breathing, walking paradox. They are a masterpiece of contradictions, and they embrace these dualities with complete and utter sincerity. To the outside observer who likes to put people into neat, easily understandable boxes, the INFJ is deeply confusing. How can someone be so incredibly quiet, yet possess an intensity that could move mountains? How can they be fiercely logical, capable of dissecting complex problems, yet be guided so heavily by their profound emotions? They are incredibly independent, entirely capable of surviving on their own, yet they crave a cosmic, soul-binding connection with another human being. None of this is an act. It is simply the complex architecture of their mind. An INFJ can love humanity with a fierce protective passion, yet they require vast, silent oceans of solitude just to survive the week. They are the ultimate pacifists, deeply desiring harmony and gentle living. But if you threaten someone they love, or if you violate a core moral principle, you will suddenly face a warrior of unyielding steel. On the surface, these traits seem completely opposed. But in the rich soil of the INFJ soul, these contradictions bloom side by side in perfect harmony. They can sit in absolute silence at a crowded party, looking entirely unapproachable, while inside their mind they are weaving beautiful, complex theories about the universe and the people around them. Pretending to be this complex is impossible. Anyone can put on a leather jacket and act mysterious or quote poetry to seem deep, but to truly live on the knife edge of these opposing forces requires a grace that only the INFJ possesses. Because they understand their own complex nature, they refuse to let the world label them. They understand that human beings are vast and multifaceted. This inner complexity allows them to be wonderfully adaptable. They can speak with profound wisdom to an elder in one moment and sit with childlike wonder in the next. They carry the weight of their decisions with a calm exterior, but inside, every choice is weighed with deep emotional significance. Their presence is a quiet storm, entirely real and impossible to fabricate. The fourth trait that defines this rare personality is their creative integrity. INFJs are almost universally deeply creative beings, but their relationship with art and creation is entirely different from the modern norm. They do not create to go viral. They do not paint, write, or compose music to harvest the applause of strangers. They create because if they do not, they feel as though they might suffocate. Their creativity is the release valve for their overwhelming internal world. It is the purest translation of their hidden truth. Picture an INFJ sitting by a window at midnight, writing pages upon pages of breathtaking prose in a journal that no other human eye will ever see. The act of creation is entirely sacred to them. This is why you can always feel the difference between someone trying to be an artist and an INFJ who simply is one. Their creative integrity is born from an emotional risk that cannot be faked. They pour the literal essence of their being into the colors, the words, or the melodies. When you consume the art of an INFJ, you are not just looking at a skill, you are witnessing a quiet, desperate plea for understanding. You are feeling the pulse of a heart that cares too much about a world that often cares too little. It takes immense bravery to create not for the crowd, but for the quiet truth inside yourself. That integrity is a fingerprint, entirely unique and absolutely irreplaceable. The fifth unmistakable trait is their quiet, unspoken empathy. In today's loud culture, empathy has become a buzzword. People proudly wear it as a badge, broadcasting their charitable deeds and making sure everyone knows how deeply they care. The INFJ does none of this. They rarely even use the word empath. They do not need to advertise their kindness because their care is a silent, enduring river that flows through everything they do. Their empathy is not loud, dramatic, or messy. It is incredibly calm, steady, and frequently entirely invisible to the untrained eye. They are the ones who notice that your smile didn't quite reach your eyes today. They are the ones who subtly guide the conversation away from a topic that they know makes you uncomfortable without ever making a scene. When you are walking through the darkest valleys of your life, the INFJ does not rush in with toxic positivity or unasked for advice. They do not try to fix you. Instead, they do something infinitely more difficult. They step into the darkness with you, sit down in the dirt, and simply hold space for your pain. They let you shatter. And they do not judge the broken pieces. This cannot be faked, because absorbing another person's pain is physically and emotionally exhausting. An imitator would soon tire of the grief and leave, but the INFJ stays. They offer their presence as a sanctuary. They feel your sorrow echoing in their own bones. They do not help you to be called a savior. In fact, if you praise them too much for their support, they will likely feel deeply uncomfortable. They simply helped because you were hurting, and that was reason enough. The sixth and final trait is a profound, purpose-driven altruism. A true INFJ is fundamentally motivated by a desire to leave this broken world slightly more beautiful than they found it. But their altruism is not born from a desire for social standing or public recognition. They are guided by a massive, invisible moral compass. They do not act out of pressure, obligation, or guilt. They act out of pure alignment with their internal truth. While others might volunteer for a cause to post a picture on the internet, the INFJ is quietly washing the dishes after the event has ended, long after the cameras have gone home. They are making the anonymous donation. They are defending the outcast in the hallway when no one else will stand beside them. Their giving is intensely intentional. If an INFJ cares deeply about mental health, you will not just see them posting quotes online. You will see them quietly sitting up at 3 a.m, listening to a friend who has lost the will to live. If they believe in justice, they will sacrifice their own comfort to stand like a pillar of stone against unfairness, and they expect absolutely nothing in return. For the INFJ, the reward is not gratitude or power. The ultimate reward is looking in the mirror at the end of the day and knowing that they did not betray their soul. When an imitator tries to perform this kind of selflessness, it eventually cracks. The resentment builds when they are not praised. But the INFJ continues to give silently and powerfully because their altruism is the very oxygen they breathe. These 6 traits, the deep authenticity, the flawless emotional radar, the beautiful paradox of their nature, their quiet creative integrity, their unspoken empathy, and their profound altruism, they are not simply behaviors. They are the architecture of a soul. You cannot copy them. You cannot fake the heavy, beautiful burden of being an INFJ. To those of you listening who carry these quiet fires within you, who have spent a lifetime feeling misunderstood, feeling too deep for the shallow waters of the modern world, know this: you are not broken. You are profoundly rare. In a universe that constantly screams for attention, your quiet, honest presence is the greatest gift you could possibly offer. Honor your depth, protect your peace, and never let the world convince you to wear a mask. The world desperately needs your raw, unfiltered truth.